In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this easy homemade cornbread. And when I say homemade, I mean entirely from scratch. So you can go ahead and throw away that Jiffy box because we won't be needing it here. And of course, as always, we have to start off with greasing our cast iron skillet. And I'm going to tell you, if the cornbread isn't made in the cast iron skillet, I don't want it. You can serve it to the cats, you can serve it to the dogs, but it won't be served at my table. And I just added 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil to the cast iron skillet. And I'm moving the cast iron skillet around to ensure the bottom is fully coated with the grease. And you can use butter as well. You don't have to use oil. And I'm using about a 12-inch size cast iron skillet for this. And the reason we do this is to help sear the bottom and give the cornbread a nice crispy crust. And we're going to place it in the oven while it's preheating at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And while it's doing that, we're going to move on to combining our other ingredients for the cornbread mixture. So I just added 1 cup of yellow cornmeal, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoons of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of iodized salt, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and finally we're going to add 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar. And then we're just going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together until they're well combined. And the reason we're using both baking powder and baking soda is, aside from the extra lift, when the baking soda dissolves, the gas bubbles help to break down the gluten in the flour, which delays its coagulation and allows for more browning of the fat, which gives the cornbread a caramel undertone, as well as give it that pretty golden color that you see. So I just added 1 extra large egg, and I just used my whisk to break it down to make it easier to blend with the other ingredients. Now I'm adding a 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. And I'm adding 1 cup of buttermilk to the bowl as well. And next I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of honey. Believe it or not, aside from the flavor complexity, the honey helps the cornbread to retain moisture, which ensures that it maintains its tender texture once it's done baking. Now, some recipes will have you combine the wet and dry ingredients in separate bowls first, but we ain't got time for all of that here because it's 1 less extra bowl that we have to wash. The cornbread is going to come out the same regardless of how you mix it. So I dumped everything into this 1 single bowl, and I'm whisking all of the wet and dry ingredients together until they're well combined. And once that's done, I'm going to let the cornbread batter rest for 10 minutes. This will allow time for the cornmeal and the flour to fully hydrate before we place it in the oven. And by this point, the oven should be done preheating, so we're going to remove our cast iron skillet from the oven. And once the cornbread batter is done resting, you're going to transfer it to the cast iron skillet. By the way, I did use a 3-quart size mixing bowl for the cornbread batter. And if your cornbread batter comes out soupy doopy, then you just effed up. I don't know what else to tell you, because it should come out exactly how you see on the screen. It should come out on the thicker side. And you want it to come out on the thicker side because if the cornbread batter is too thin, then the cornbread will end up flat with a very dense texture. It won't be nearly as appetizing. So I'm just spreading around the cornbread batter until it forms 1 even layer, and I'm using a plastic spatula to do so. And now that that's done, I'm going to place the cast iron skillet back in the oven. And I'm going to bake it for around 25 to 30 minutes in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then once it's done, we're going to remove it, and we're going to allow it to rest for at least 15 minutes before cutting into it. And the reason why you want to allow it to rest once it's finished baking is, while it may look done on the outside, everything's still coagulating on the inside. If you were to try to cut into it while it's still hot, then you risk having the inside of the cornbread fall apart. So it gives time for the cornbread to set before you cut into it if you allow it to rest. And one last thing I'll address, I'll eat cornbread whether it's sweet or savory. In fact, I have a savory cornbread recipe on my page as well if you want to check that out. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think cornbread should be sweet? Do you think it should be savory? Would you eat it either way, or do you just don't care? Let me know your thoughts. And if you would like to see more of these recipes, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.